a telephone call, or not 3 years, not when we went to see Donny Osmond.
Which was amazing.
Which was amazing, yeah.
Which we didn't realize was going to be amazing.
No, and it was a lot of fun. But, I don't think that you knew that I had a stroke. And I told, when I told you that.
You told me at that during that trip, right?
Which trip?
In Vegas?
I don't know if I told you in Vegas or if I told you.
I think, it was recent. You told me. I didn't know.
Well, it wasn't that recent. It was.
No, you told me about it recently.
2011. You said
yeah.
2011.
I told you recently about it, John. And in 2011, that's right around the time that Jennifer was doing all those movies that you were kind of like involved. That whole fucking time, John, I had half of my fucking memory.
Right.
And so I was like not putting myself out there. I didn't go out for any fucking jobs. I didn't if I was having a conversation with looking back on it, if there's anybody I could have told, it would have been you. I knew that you would fucking keep a secret, but I was like half myself for about 5 years, really, during that period of time. And then I started coming back, and it was probably not until I did. The only first thing that I did that I felt confident enough to do to remember my lines, because I didn't have very many of them, was Mandalorian. But I couldn't work for a long, long time, and I had no idea what Jennifer was doing, and with all those.
Well, you and I never spoke during that time, Michael.
No. I was shut off, and I'm not sure if. But anyway, I just wanted John to know, and I think that I probably said to you that if there were some telephone calls and I didn't get back to you, and there's I was in a weird fucking space,
Well, I mean,
really
it's not
hard.
weird. It's a space
Yes.
that you were in recovery from something that's devastating.
Well, the good thing about it is, and it just came out, the podcast of the guy, my doctor is named Rico Simonini, and my doctor is a cardiologist, but he told me that the kind of stroke that I had, the tear in my brain, John, would try to heal itself. Those little spaghetti things that are in the brain will try its best to heal itself. And he said you'll have your memory back in 6 years or 7 years. And on top of it, John, I didn't want to even admit to myself that it was affecting me. I didn't want to fucking even admit that.
Like a little denial thing.
Total denial. And therefore, and my navigational skills were fucking shit. Names, places.
So it's been over
I didn't know my kids'
6
names.
years.
What?
That's Kaylin.
Yeah. Thank you. So
sorry,
anyway,
Kaylin. But he nenever forgot my name. Just let you know.
No, I know.
I'm the son.
There's a couple of us to get confused with.
I'm the black Tino son he never had.
The black. Yes. So you have a incredible career. When I met you, this was like 20 years ago.
God, it was hot,
Yeah. Oh, South Africa? Wasn't that fucking great? That was a
great time.
Loved that.
That was a great time.
Cape Town was incredible, and the money was so strong, and
we were fucking loaded.
We had a great time.
With our $60 per diem per day. It was like $700 to them.
Yeah, and we did great thing. We went. I remember John and I went down and we swam with we didn't swim. We went in the cage with the great whites. Remember the great whites?
I didn't go.
You didn't go on that?
No.
You weren't on that?
No, I was. I don't.
Oh, shows your
say what I was
still
doing.
left over from my stroke. I thought you were there.
Did you go with Eddie?
I went with Eddie for sure. Eddie was hungover. I remember that. He was like,
probably went with Eddie.
Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to ask you about, first of all, because you had such a big career before you became an actor.
Have you started, by the way?
Yeah.
Damn it, Kaylin.
Yeah.
I can't get an action or something. I'm trained. I'm a trained monkey. I need an action.
We can cut off the beginning for you. So I wanted to know, so your mother's husband was a SEAL.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay, so I wanted to ask you, at what age did you join the military?
Joined the military at 18.
And in Navy? Is that
Air Force.
Air Force.
And weapon. I was a weapons specialist in the Air Force and spent 8 years deployed to a couple, conflicts for, we did Operation Desert Storm, and then we did Operation Just Cause was another thing we supported. And, I went into the Air Force because growing up, I wanted to be an actor since I was 6 years old.
You did?
Yeah.
Before you went into the military?
Yeah. And
okay.
So, going through theater in school, I played sports and I was in theater. And so, I was kind of taught by my theater teachers, especially in Virginia, that if you want to be a professional actor, you got to have an undergraduate degree and a graduate degree if you want to be taken seriously as an actor. So I was trying to get on that track.
Either, but go ahead.
Right, exactly. Well, I figured out once I moved here, like I wasted some time. So, and money. But I didn't have money to go to school. I mean, I went to school, for 1 year and it didn't work out. And then I went in the Air Force and they were paying for 75% of my tuition as long as I maintained a B+ average. And I had to be on active duty. So it took a long time to get 3 years of school completed, about 6.5, almost 7 years, because of going TDY and getting deployed. And so, but I really was working hard on getting a theater degree. And when I moved to Los Angeles and started auditioning with this new theater degree, I kept getting this feedback like, "Hey, he's pretty good. He's got great instincts, but he's really green. He needs an acting class." And, my manager that I'd found, or they found me actually on the street, one of those kinds of stories, they said, you're going to be in this acting class. I'm putting you in here. And it was like, $450 a month, which I didn't really have. And I learned really quickly, though, that an acting class in LA is so much different than theater in Texas, at Texas Christian University.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So I, got into acting class and started doing the damn thing in 1995. So I've been here 30 years as of January.
Well, let's go back to.
Michael, you know something about 1 year of school not working out.
Not even a semester. But I basically made it through the first semester. I had a lot of easy classes the first semester, but when the English and math and stuff started showing up the second semester, I was gone. That's when I decided to become an actor. I was going to go over to LA and get lost. And
were you in Arizona?
So pretty that what?
You were in Arizona?
I was in Arizona. I actually was on the drama scholarship. University of Arizona paid for my books and education, which at the time was a couple of grand. It didn't, most of the money was spent housing ourselves and stuff like that. I don't know what it is now, but that's another story. We're not here to talk about me. I want to go back to you and your military service, and so you were a parajumper. Is that correct?
No, there's no parajumpers in the Air Force. There's this thing called pararescue, and I went to cross train into pararescue, and then had a double knee injury and couldn't continue. So then I went back into my specialty, which was in-flight weapon systems operations.
Did you do any like somebody being hurt and being a paramedic and working on them and stuff like that?
Not through pararescue, but when I was on what's called the disaster response team, or I think that's what it was called, disaster response team, and we did stuff through that. I did get medical training, and so did pull people off rooftops and during Hurricane Andrew and shit like that.
Well, when I think that you and I originally sort of bonded around the fact that, and I don't know how long it was, but Panama was going on.
Operation Just Cause. Yeah.
What is that? We'll call it Operation what?
Operation Just Cause.
And what did you do there?
I was on AC-130s as a gunner.
You were a gunner. What does that mean? You're a gunner.
So in-flight weapon systems specialist is somebody who's on the AC-130. You basically load and help fire the weapons, target the weapons, fire the weapons, load the weapons that you're raining down on foreheads.
Those things are massive gunships.
We call it putting warheads on foreheads.
Is that the one in Vietnam they called it Puff the Magic Dragon?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's C-130. One time, if not mistaken, we're talking about the same airplane. I was doing Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
Horrible movie. But
I mean, I liked
it. I know you were young, but anyway, it could have been Top Gun, but it wasn't obviously. But we had a great cast.
Rick Rossovich was still in it, wasn't he? Was he in that?
Yeah, everybody was in it. Joanne Kilmer, Bill Paxton. We had a great cast. We had a great Academy Award winning DP. All sorts of great stuff. But anyway, that went nowhere. Just like this conversation that I'm having is going nowhere. I forgot what I was going to ask you.
AC 130.
You were saying, AC-130.
So I was, thank you.
You were going to ask if there was an AC 130 in the movie?
Well, there was. It was my
C-130.
before they started principal photography, they took me down to San Diego and they put me back in the back of a. I thought it was that. It's
probably a C-130.
Yeah. C-130, all right. So, and they bungee cord me in, and they had like 5 SEALs. Real SEALs, that had just retired, standing in front of me.
Yeah.
And, I'm giving them this little, do this and do that, little speech, like a little cut, like a little half page or page thing. This is before we even started shooting. And at that moment, the back of the C-130 fucking opened up.
Yeah.
And I just about shit my fucking pants, man. It was like, whoa, man. When that thing opened up, I had no idea.
Right.
And of course, they just went bink, 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 bink out of the airplane. I was just like, oh my God, this is incredible.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's
those are the
C-130
days.
that opens up. That's the back that opens up.
C-130s open up. C-141, C-17s. They all. And there's a couple of other transport aircraft that open up like that. It's pretty incredible. I think it's the CH-47 Chinook helicopter opens up just like that too. Yeah. So there's a bunch of aircraft that do that.
How long were you in Hollywood before you started working?
So I was very lucky. I'll tell you a quick little story. So I fell for one of those ads that used to come on the radio back then, where you listen to the radio and someone comes on and says, "Come audition to see if you have what it takes to make it in Hollywood. This weekend only, open auditions from 11 to 1. And I was like, I got what it fucking takes to make it in Hollywood. So I went to one of these auditions, and everybody I think that auditioned, they told, had what it takes so they could take $3,000 from each one of us. And so I didn't know, there was no Google back then. So I didn't know how to even start in this business. I didn't know one person. There was no Google. So I fell for that. I looked in the yellow pages under acting.
Did you throw away $3,000?
About $3,000.
Okay.
On headshots, bad headshots, and classes.
Yes.
Like a cold reading class.
Yeah.
And I bumped into that guy who was teaching that cold reading class years later in an audition and threatened his life.
Punched him out.
And so, but yeah, I didn't know what to do, and so I called I had an agent in Texas from doing theater and commercials.
Where were you in Texas?
Fort Worth, Dallas area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
Bill
it was in
Paxton
Shreveport.
sort of area. Okay,
yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
And so the Kim Dawson agency in Dallas, Texas was. I called them and I said, I don't know what to do. I just got ripped off.
Yeah.
And they called. I'd done an under 5 role in a movie of the week, and that was shooting down there, and they were like, well, we'll call ABC Studios and see if they've got anything going on. And they called me back and said, hey, there's a casting call going on for high school age kids. Can you play high school? And I looked pretty young, so I was like, fuck yeah.
Is this 90201?
No, this was a movie of the week called Spring Fling.
Spring Fling.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Absolutely terrible. The 2 leads were, it wasn't terrible, I guess, for a movie of the week, but it was
ABC?
Joyce DeWitt, ABC, Joyce DeWitt and James Eckhouse were the 2 kind of leads in it.
Okay.
So,
by the way, were you in the Screen Actors Guild? Had you been in the Screen Actors? Well, how'd you get your
I was in the Screen Actors Guild because of
Okay.
the under 5 role that I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I get this movie. I'm playing a high school kid. We're shooting down in San Diego in February for 3 weeks. And it was called Spring Flings. We're on the beach with our shirts off. And, I didn't know that my nipples could get that hard. San Diego is not hot
It's
in
cold
February.
down there,
Oh,
right?
my God. We were on the beach supposed to be frolicking and shit. And because it was ABC, there was one girl who was in the cast who's,
She didn't need ice.
she did not need that. She was blessed with very prominent nipples, and they shut down production for an hour. What are we gonna do until they found some tape to strap them down underneath the bikini? So I was like, it was just, ABC. It's like, family.
Yes.
So, so that's how.
What year? What year?
That was 1995. So
95.
So it was literally, I'd been here about 3.5 months. And then I got an agent from that. I didn't have an agent in town. And I met this kid named Jason Hervey. He was an older brother on Wonder Years. And he was already producing. He was like 19 or 20 or maybe 21. He was already producing stuff.
Really?
Like he had a show that was on Saturday mornings and all that. He was doing stuff. And so he had never met a guy who was in the military. I'd never met a guy who was a child actor, which all I wanted to be was a child actor. So I would pick his brain between setups and he'd pick mine. And then we'd do a scene and he'd be like, hey man, you're pretty good actually. Like, who's your agent? And I said, Kim Dawson Agency. And he was like, who the fuck is that?
Right.
Because he knew all the agents in town. And I was
Texas?
like, yeah, exactly. I was like, it's Texas. He goes, you don't live in Texas. I know. You need an agent here. I know. And so he said, you got to meet my mom. Why do I got to meet your mom, bro? That's weird. We're not dating. He's like, yet. No. He said, you got to meet my mom. She's an agent. And
mom's not bad. Yeah.
I met his mom, and Marsha Hervey, and she was Marsha Hervey and Pam Grimes. Hervey Grimes was the agency, and they were amazing. They got me so much work that first year. Hervey is Jason's mom, and then Pam Grimes is Scott Grimes' mom, the redheaded actor who's super talented.
Yes.
And so they repped me for many years. And that first year, I got my first studio film in Executive Decision with Russell Crowe. I mean, I'm sorry, Kurt Russell. Oh my God, did I say Kurt?
Yeah, Kurt.
I want to see your editing skills, Caleb. I got my first movie.
It was an editor who
Stuart
directed.
Baird.
Yeah,
it was his first movie.
Yeah. I was
his first movie and second to last movie, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think that. Yeah,
he did the sequel to The Fugitive after that. He did the sequel to The Fugitive after that. U.S. Marshals.
Yeah.
U.S. Marshals.
Would you hear about
Tommy Lee Jones?
I just heard that he had some issues, difficult issues to have when you're working. I don't know.
Well, I mean, when you give an actor a line reading, and not just. So you know how it is. You're not supposed to give actors line readings. I'm directing it, so I know. And I gotta watch it because I'm an actor directing. So now, I hear an actor do something. I could actually show you, but you gotta pump the brakes, right? But Stuart wouldn't just not just line reading. He would literally if I had my character Sammy I had an AK-47 because we take this plane hostage, and he would take my AK-47 and he would literally walk the blocking that he wanted me to do. And it wasn't just doing it with me, like with Kurt Russell, he would do it with him. And everybody'd be like, this month. So it slowed down production. We went a month over on this movie, by the way. But it would slow down production. He'd come in, he'd be like, John, what I want you to do is, let me see that rifle. I want you to go here and then look over here. And I want you to say to your line, what are you doing? He's already killed someone. And then he would walk over, and then he'd, continue. And I'm standing there, and I'm thinking, it's my first big movie. So I'm thinking, that's the way we're supposed to do it, right? Right. Kurt Russell, I look at him, and he's just shaking his head like. And then he says,
"You saw a bit of that with Kurt yourself,
right?" And then he says to me, he looks at me, and goes, "John, what do you want to do with this scene?" Kurt Russell.
Yeah,
this is my first movie, and I'm also
like
I am horribly starstruck. I grew up watching him on Disney movies and every other movie.
Yes.
I love Kurt Russell.
So do I.
And so
do I, man.
So he goes,
Tombstone, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
He said, what do you want to do with this scene? And I said, and I looked at my sides, and I was like, well, it says that I walk up to you and I say this, and then you say this, and then you shoot me. And he said, yeah, but what do you want to do with it? It says in the side. The script, right? He grabs the sides, he throws them on the floor. He goes, no, but let's make the scene better. What do you want to do with it? And Halle Berry was also in the scene too. And so, he wanted
Halle Berry?
Halle Berry.
Okay.
So he wanted to rework the scene and just give it, have it be more than what it was on paper. And I had never experienced that before. I didn't know that you could do that as an actor. I thought, I would come from theater.
Yes.
The playwright says, this is what you say. The director says, this is how we block it. And you stick to that until you get the run up and you're going, and you might be able to play a little bit. But
yes,
in TV film, I thought, we've got marks on the floor. We're like, it's mechanical. Like,
yes,
you can't deviate. But he was like, no, we're gonna make the scene better. And I had never experienced that before. And it was like a huge gift. Slash, I'd go to maybe some productions after that where they weren't so open to like.
Yes, well, we've all had the same experience, and I have the same experience because you're a writer, you're a director, and that's where your head is. And I've always considered myself to be good with dialogue, and my bullshit meter is like, it's fucking doesn't make any sense, or like, what are we supposed to do with this?
Logic police.
Logic police, exactly. And and also, John, and you probably dealt with this, as a director. But when you're getting exposition, you get it in like the first 15 minutes, and then you get the same exposition like in the second half of the fucking show. And it's like, what? We've already said it once. I mean, so who are we making this for? People who don't understand, the language?
Well, yeah, I think they used to make, people used to make things thinking that the audience was stupid,
not paying attention.
Dumb. Yeah, and just not intelligent enough to to understand the story themselves.
So they'd have to repeat it, repeat the exposition over and over.
Spoon feeding the audience.
Wow.
Yeah, which I'm not a big fan of. I like,
of course.
Audience wants to participate. I'm an audience member. I'm a lover of TV and film. Always have been. That's why I wanted to be an actor. So I want to be along for the ride and like help a detective figure it out. Don't tell me everything. Let me learn, or let me go, oh, I didn't see that coming, or oh my God, that's let me be surprised. And so I think sometimes some productions, whether they be TV, film, especially like procedurals, a lot of times will be, they'll spoon feed an audience, and I think that's those are the shows that don't work as well. The ones where you let the audience participate and go along for the ride and be like the extra cast member, from their sofa. Those
give
are
the audience some buy-in, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well. Okay. Well, let's go back to the very first series you did, Castle. How long were you on that show?
That wasn't the very first series I did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That was like the longest running series I did. The first series, I mean, I'll kind of give you a little chronological thing. I did the first kind of big job I got was a
Generation Kill.
Heavy recurring on Moesha.
On what?
Moesha. So they added
I don't know that.
It was a UPN series with Brandy Norwood.
What's UPN?
I don't know what it stands for, but it was a network that before there was the CW, there was the WB and UPN. Okay. And then they combined and became the CW.
WCPU.
There's all kinds of letters. And so UPN was it was actually like, a better show than the next show I did. So 1998, I'd been here like 3 years. They added me to the season 4 cast of, for that year as a recurring character. 10 out of the 13 episodes to play Antonio.
Wow.
Which was cool. Yeah. I loved it. I loved the writing. I loved everybody in the cast. And then the next year, I got offered a series regular gig on Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which was more money. It wasn't UPN, it was ABC. So I thought, well, that's got to be better, right? ABC's been around much longer.
What was the name of it again?
ABC or Sabrina the Teenage Witch?
That had to be better.
Well, I didn't. Right. Well.
No, I know. Okay, ABC. Go ahead.
But it wasn't. I mean, I really think as I had a great time. I have a great time on everything I work on. Right?
Me too.
You have to.
Yeah.
And so, but I will say, like, the thing about Moesha that I loved is that every episode had a message, a point to make, and a lesson that someone can take away from it, whether you were a parent or a kid. Right. That's something that I really loved about Moesha. And I kind of was like regretted not, kind of pursuing staying on that show.
Did you not pursue to stay on it, or they just let you go, or what happened?
No,
Did they keep going?
I took the Sabrina job, and they, I didn't.
Okay, you weren't signed to 7 years. Oh,
no, I didn't have a. Okay, they were going to bring me back.
So you went to Sabrina because ABC and the whole thing. All right. Yeah. So what happened there?
So then, I did that show for a couple seasons. Then I was done, and then I didn't want to play teenagers anymore. I was playing a teenager and I was 30 years old. And I was like, I want to be a man.
Yeah.
And so there was
all?
Yeah. And so right around that time, it was like just after 9/11. And, I hadn't been working for a while. There was a show that was, West Wing was supposed to be adding a character that was supposed to be a young Benjamin Bratt. And so they had reached out, Warner Brothers reached out to my team and said, we want to test John for this, but we won't test him in second position. It's got to be first position. And so, we worked it out where I was going to be able to test, and they never tested me. And we found out later that they changed it without them telling us. They changed the character to a female character and added a female character instead of a male character. So I was like, okay, that's cool.
That's hard to compete with.
Yeah, exactly. Then I told my team.
You could have done it though.
I could have. So then
I can be taller.
So then I told my team, I said, you know what? No more sitcoms, no more teenagers, man. I want to be a serious, dramatic actor and play a man.
Yes.
Cut to like 18 months to 24 months later.
Nothing.
Is Saved by the Bell doing a fucking spin-off? Because I'll be on that shit. I'll play a freshman. And nothing. And during that time, they were doing this, real quickly. They got a show off the ground after the invasion of Iraq. Afghanistan. They got a show off the ground called Over There. And it was about the Marines in Afghanistan. And I couldn't get a pre-read. Even though I'd been a series regular on this show, recurring on this show, been in movies, big movies.
Military background.
They were like, my team would be like, well, we think John would be great as a guest on the show. And they were like, nah, we don't think so. We don't see it. We love John. He's great. He's a funny guy. But we don't see him as a military type. And they would say, but he is the military. He was in the military.
Yes.
We just don't see it. So I never got to audition for that show. It bugged the shit out of me, obviously. But I was about to go back in the Air Force and go, serve. And I'd talked to recruiters and everything, and I had a friend talk me out of it and kept me in. So then the next, gig that I got was an amazing experience, amazing show. The writers who write the Deadpool movies, Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, they did a series for Spike TV called Joe Schmo. And I did the second season of Joe Schmo. Every season there's a different cast. Kristen Wiig had done the first season. But I did
There's a new version out this year.
Yeah, there's another. I think they're doing another Joe Schmo, and they're also they did. Jury Duty was basically Joe Schmo set in a jury in the courtroom, and they're doing another one of those. And I don't know what that's going to be set in. My partner was up for that, but yeah. So it was a show about, it's a great show in my opinion. It's a cast of actors, improvisational actors, playing what somebody thinks are real people. There's one person on the show who's a real person who thinks they're on a real reality show, and they're not. They're on a fake show, and we just push it to the extreme. My character's name was TJ the Player, and he thought I was the coolest dude ever, and I was literally playing the douchiest guy on the show. But this guy he loved it. He's like, I want to be like TJ. And wouldn't tell on me. We're vying for the heart of this girl, and I would tell him in one moment, like, yeah, man, she's got my heart, bro. I mean, she's got me retiring from the game, homie. She's so beautiful, and she just treats me like, oh my God, you see the boobs on that chick right there? I'm gonna try to get that tonight, and hoping that he would go back to her and say, TJ is a player. Don't.
Yes.
You should pick me. Don't pick TJ.
Yes.
And he would never go tell her. And at the end of the show, he should pick me because it was in the script.
Right? Yeah.
So that was like the next show, and then the next show after that was Generation Kill.
Okay, so when you and I worked together, you hadn't done Generation Kill.
No, we probably worked together
20 years ago. So
it was 2002. So Generation Kill was 2007. 2000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
2004 was Joe Schmo.
Okay.
It was a bunch of.
Tell me about Generation Kill and how you got cast for that, where you shot it, how long you were on it. Because I remember that you just kind of like disappeared for a while, and then knew you were doing it. First of all, the title's great. What a great title. Generation Kill. And sometimes I have a hard time with shows like that, which are mostly white guys with their hair fucking buzzed off, and it's hard for me to tell that. Even with Black Hawk Down, I kind of had a hard time telling who's who. But go ahead. Well, how did that happen for you?
So Generation Kill. So in 2006, I got called in for it. So I'd done a movie for HBO before that, probably like right after.
What was that?
It was called Stealth Fighter.
Was it any good? No, I could tell you. Who was
worse
in it?
than Navy SEALs? That's and so it
who was in it.
It was
who was the star of it?
Ice-T.
Ice-T
and Costas Mandylor.
Oh,
and
okay.
All right. So it was a movie that
They paid you well? You get paid good?
No, it's HBO. HBO doesn't pay
HBO?
a lot of money. You know, not until the show's a success and you can renegotiate.
Okay.
But at the beginning, even on Generation Kill, like the money's not.
No,
like, it's not network money, right?
Yeah.
And so, I had done this movie for them called Stealth Fighter, which was just not a great experience. I almost got in a fist fight with the director because he was crazy and he directs like soft porn.
Give it up.
I'm not gonna.
Okay, go ahead.
It's the thing. He uses like 3 or 4 different names because he burned so many bridges. I'm not even kidding. I was
Give me one of his names.
Jim Wynorski. I was on a bus for like the NBA Entertainment League, and Daniel Baldwin, remember that guy?
Yes.
He was on the bus too, and he was talking to I think this guy named Brad Rowe, and they were talking about this movie and this experience they had with this director, and I was in like the seat in front of them and just kind of overheard the conversation. I turned around, I go, was this guy named Jim Wynorski? And they were like, yes. And I was like, this motherfucker. And then they started saying like, yeah, he was directing soft porn on another stage while he's supposed to be filming this movie. And so he was in a fight with the first AD. The first AD's trying to keep everything together. And so we did this rehearsal. He started screaming at me in front of everybody on set, which when he started, I just looked at him and I walked off the set. He's like, where the fuck are you going? And
this is the first time that had ever happened to you,
First time
John?
that ever happened to me.
The last time?
And the last time.
Okay.
It was almost his last time. I told him, because he came outside and he was still trying to, I told him to shut the fuck up.
What was he yelling at you? You remember?
What was he yelling about?
Yeah.
Because he said, I started the scene where he didn't want me to start it. I started it where we rehearsed it from. And it only made sense that, you know, where we started is in the engine room, which starts to flood. So I got to get all wet because I'm saving all the dudes, throwing them out, and I close the fucking, the lock, so the water's just trapped in there. And then I get to my next spot and I start rating up to my captain, like, this is what's happening down here. I'm on my way up, boom. So it was that type of thing. And chronologically, I've got to get wet and get to and we rehearsed it like that. And then he started yelling. He was off his rocker, and he started yelling that, oh, you're supposed to start right here. And I'm like, it doesn't make it, I'm not talking, I'm gonna be outside, like, and then he comes outside and he's yelling. I said, shut the fuck up or I'm gonna fucking snatch your throat from your fucking body. Like, seriously, bro, like, you don't talk to people like that. And and I said, I'm gonna go to my trailer and I'm gonna see if I'm gonna figure out if I'm gonna come back in this motherfucker. And he came in and he apologized. And then years later, I got called into a movie called Rangers.
Porn or
no? This is a real movie, but it was called Rangers, and it was another military movie. And my agents were like, "Hey, they want to offer you this role, but the director wants to meet you." And they sent me like the script and then the information. I saw the director's name. I was like, "Cool, I'll meet him."
What was his name on this one?
I cannot remember, but I remember walking into the room and seeing him sitting behind the thing, and I'm like, What are you doing here? And he's like, I'm directing a movie. I go, no, it's this guy. He goes, yeah, that's me too. And I said, but we hate each other. Like, we hated each other in the last movie because that's water under the bridge. I think you'd be great for this movie. And I was like, nah, man, I'm good. I just walked out. But I did that. So I did that movie and I had a terrible experience. And I love Ice-T, man. He's such a talented hip hop artist, but he didn't cut his hair, and he's playing a military stealth fighter pilot. He had like the ponytail.
Well, maybe he knew ahead of time what he was walking into.
Maybe he just wanted whatever they were paying him, probably. But for me as a veteran, like, that really bugged me. And so when I get this audition for Generation Kill, I just get sides. And they won't. There's no script to share. There's just sides.
That was HBO.
Also? HBO, yeah. And so I start, and they had been doing some good shit since then, like Sopranos and all that stuff. Yeah. But I'm reading these sides, and it's like this guy named Fruity Rudy. Nickname was Fruity Rudy. Rudy Reyes Rudolfo Reyes is making espresso in the tent in the desert in Kuwait, and watched his dialogue. I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. Another project where they don't know how to write military stuff. Nobody's gonna make an espresso in a tent in Kuwait. And the guy, no Latinos talk like this. It was a whole, I had this whole thing where I got very angry. But I'm not gonna not show up because it was a casting director that is prolific, Alexa Fogel out of New York. Like, you want to always be on a good side because she casts amazing things and she's got such a great eye and she's a great talent. And so I was like, I'm gonna show up. And I show up, but I read it like I feel, which is angry. Right. I was mad. I was like, man, as I read all this stuff, just mad and angry. I didn't hear anything. I guess I fucked that up. I don't care. They're gonna make another piece of shit, military movie.
Yes.
Cut to 2007. I get called by my manager saying, hey, they want to have a meeting with you over at HBO, the casting executive and another executive. They want to have a meeting with you. And so I go in and they say, hey, thank you for coming in. We think we got this project we're doing. We think you're perfect
I'm confused.
for it.
These are two different projects. The first one was something else.
Just
They're
follow-
both Generation Kill.
Try to follow along.
Okay. Tell you I'm slow. I'm
So I sit down. They go. We got this project we want you to be in. But you're not going to be cast until you meet David Simon. He wants to meet everyone, but you got to be willing to come in on Saturday morning. He's only going to be here Saturday morning. And I was like, what's the project? And they were like, Generation Kill. I was like, wait a minute. That sounds familiar. They're like, yeah. You came in for us a long time ago. I was like, yeah, like a year ago. And they're like, yeah. And we think you're perfect for this guy. And they said,
wow, okay.
They said Tony Aspera. And I was like, what? I don't think I read for Tony Aspera. No. You read for somebody. You're not right for that guy. This guy's the lead. Like, he's one of the leads. There's 5 leads. You're one of them. And we think you're perfect for it. And he's the angry Mexican who hates the white man. And I was like, oh. It's because I was so angry when I came in the last time. They were like, let's get him the angry Latino, right?
Right.
And then they told me, they were like once I got cast, because I did come in.
You weren't angry at all in that.
I wasn't angry when I met with Dave.
Saw.
No, kind of. I mean, I just railed against. Well, I also didn't want to play him angry. I think that's to go one note, to just be angry.
Yes, of course.
So I wanted to give him layers. But I did meet David Simon that Saturday. I drove up in my 1960 F100, and it was at that 3000 West Olympic in Santa Monica, where the back windows were looking over the parking lot. And I think David Simon saw my truck pull up, and he said, "Hey, was that you in that green and white truck?" And I was like, yeah, that's my shit. And he's like, I love that truck.
You're hired.
Yeah, you're hired.
You're driving in the right truck.
Exactly. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, so
pulled up in a Volkswagen, it would have been.
But then I got the job, and they were like,
where'd you shoot it?
Rudy in Africa. But they said
in
Rudy,
Africa.
Yeah.
Where in Africa?
Namibia, South Africa, and Mozambique. 3 different countries.
Right.
We moved 4 times. In that, because we were in Namibia, and then we moved to South Africa. Northern South Africa, not Cape Town.
Yeah.
And then we moved to Mozambique, and then we moved back to South Africa outside of Johannesburg. So it was a pretty, 8 months.
8 months.
Yeah, 6 days on, 1 day off.
6 day weeks?
6
the
day
entire
weeks.
time?
Yep. And when we would move countries, it would be a 4-day, you'd have 4 days to
In
move
between?
from one country to the next. Yeah. And they'd move everything.
And the whole project was 9 months?
8 months.
8 months.
Yeah.
And that's for HBO. And that came out. Was that well received, John?
It was really well received. It's still on the platform. You can watch it now.
Yeah.
Alexander Skarsgård. It was.
Oh, by the way,
first-
I got to ask you about
his first job.
Skarsgård. How many fucking Skarsgårds are there, and are they all fucking brilliant actors?
Right
Yeah.
now,
Yes, they are.
I think there's 32 Skarsgårds working in the business. I'm just kidding. They all are great, but Alex is one of them. There's Gustavo. There's not Gustavo. That's one of my people, Gustav. And then there's Bill. There's obviously Stellan. And there's another brother that I've never met. But
Okay.
But
More prolific.
There's
I mean,
so many.
Like the
There's a
Baldwin
new one too.
brothers.
Stellan Stellan had just had a baby when we did Generation Kill.
And that kid's acting now, probably.
Probably absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was Alex.
I can't watch anything without one of them being in it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Bill is just in everything right now.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. I think that's good for him.
Nosferatu, right?
Yeah, he's in Nosferatu
He was
right now.
great. I just watched that.
Yeah, he was in The Crow earlier.
He played Pennywise.
Yeah, he played Pennywise.
So
I mean,
good.
He's in all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Killing it. Yeah.
So you were on that for 8 months?
So 8 months on that, and then I got back. The first writer's strike happened at the end of our shoot, like the last couple of months of it, and then we got back, and yeah, I think Castle had survived the writer's strike, and was one
Castle was already on?
No.
Okay.
It was in development. It
Okay.
was one of the only shows that kind of made it through
Okay.
development
Okay.
process, and then I auditioned for that. I went in. It was like a test, straight to test. And I remember going in. One of the guys from Generation Kill was in the waiting room also. The guy that played Casey Kasem, Dave Barrera, who's an amazing actor as well. And then another guy named Marco Sanchez, who I think was amazing. He was on Sequest, which is one of my favorite shows back in the day. But they were in the waiting room, and I go in, and I fucked that audition up. That test up. I fucked it up. I knew.
Why? Do you know why?
I don't know why. I just know that I did not do whatever I had been working on and whatever I'd been
Just didn't come
rehearsing.
out?
That's not what happened in the room. And I come out and I tell those two guys, it was like, hey, one of you guys are going to get this. Good luck. I hope it, I hope one of you guys get it, whatever.
Yes.
And then I get in my car, call my manager, say, hey, can you do me a favor and call casting and say I'm sorry for wasting their time. That was just a waste of their time and my time, but mostly their time. And she did. She called them and then called me like an hour later and said, so I called them and they said, what are you talking about? It's his. And so now I'm on Castle. So then every time I shot a scene on Castle, I had to fuck up. I had to figure out how to fuck it up, or I was going to get fired.
Be bad.
I had to figure out how to be bad, which I guess wasn't too hard.
It came natural.
Where you shot that in L.A., right?
That was in L.A. Yeah.
Yeah.
We shot the pilot in New York, and then we shot that in L.A.
And who were your two co-stars in that?
Nathan Fillion.
Three co-stars.
Yeah.
I mean, who was the star?
There was Nathan Fillion.
Oh, I want to ask you, because I think that we both love these guys. And I want you to pick between Dylan McDermott and Nathan. Which is your favorite?
I'm going to go with Nathan Fillion. That's right. We worked with Dylan, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Kinda.
Yeah.
God, that was like the worst. The vibe on that set. We came on. We were ready to have a good time. We did have a good time, me and you. But yeah, man, the worst reception from like a regular cast. And I was on a show, and you were like a movie star, and like they should be happy to have like some people who are
Pleasant,
and wanted to give 110% to them, and they were just not pleasant. Remember Dylan's trailer had like aluminum foil over the windows or some shit. He wanted because it was called Dark Blue, so he gotta be dark.
His method, John.
Oh my God.
He wasn't trying to be bad. To the intention,
Exactly.
He was actually trying to be good on his show.
Oh my God.
But it was quite an experience. One that I just sort of like backpedaled. Both of us were just looking at each other like, what did we walk into?
First day we were like, this is gonna be great. Second day we're like,
hey, John.
when's this gonna be over?
Yes.
I technically almost got killed on that show.
Yeah.
The first shootout, Omari Hardwick was on that show, and the first shootout, he and I were in this convenience store, and we shot in a real convenience store downtown LA, and they had this, they left it as is because it was already, the production design was already done, and they had all these squibs set up and all the all the stuff in the aisles.
Yeah.
And they had those paintball guns that shoot
Yeah.
those Zergs.
I've
that,
been been hit by those plenty of times.
But so me and Amari have to run from the corner, like keeping low to keep cover between us and the shooters, and out that back door. And they didn't take down the real mirrors that the actual store owners use, like to look at the back of the store and see if anybody's stealing something down the aisle.
Yes.
The full length mirrors you get at like Target, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying, for $15.
Yes.
Not tempered glass. When they shot at us, they shot above our heads into the mirrors. And so shards of mirror were raining down as me and Omari were running to the back. So literally the glass could have impaled us. Like these shards of mirrored glass could have impaled us like into our throats and all this shit. And we came back, we were like, what is all this glass? Because we're gonna do another take, right? What's all this glass? And now the special effects guys are trying to figure out, how are we gonna reset these mirrors?
So we put these mirrors back together.
We're not. Like, you're not gonna put any more mirrors above us. Because I don't want to get shot. I don't want to get impaled by a fucking giant glass knife.
Yes.
Sword. And so, but it was just I think it was, there was some safety issues. There was some emotional issues. Yeah, people issues. Man. Well, look, that show that wasn't on for very long. So.
Well, what was it called? Dark Blue, right?
Dark Blue,
Dark Blue.
I think that's the thing.
By the way, did you work with Hill Street, and then the New York version of Hill Street Blues was called something Blue? Did you work
NYPD
with
Blue?
NYPD
Yeah,
Blue.
you did that, right?
I worked on
and
that
did you
show,
work with the star of it?
The redheaded guy?
Yeah.
No, he was gone.
He was gone by then. He was already walked
probably
off.
on the NCIS.
Yeah, he was probably doing Jade with me at that point.
He might have been doing Jade.
Yeah.
Because he was
He was a
going to be
trip
a movie
too,
star.
man. Yeah. Well, you know what? He walked off that show,
Yeah.
And he did 3 movies, and Jade was one of them. Another one.
Jade did well, right?
No.
That was no, it didn't do well.
No, man.
I watched it and liked it. I like everything though. So
yeah.
well, I like a lot of things.
No, he did that one, and then he did one with Nick Cage, with the German director, and then Jim, you can check these 3 movies that he did. But anyway,
he did King of New York around that time too.
No. King of New York was way before. King of New York was great.
That was before NYPD.
Yeah.
That was with Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah. That was a great movie. What's that? That's a Hispanic guy, right? Who directed that? Who directed that, Jim? Do you remember? Anyway, I believe that was kind of.
So those 3 movies didn't do well for him.
No, those 3 movies all bombed.
Right.
Like they all bombed. So then he went back and did the show in Florida.
Right.
You know, and became
CSI Miami.
CSI Miami and became a multimillionaire. But was it you and I that were looking at pictures of him? When was that 3? We haven't. When was that?
That wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
But we were like, oh shit.
Well, we should say his name's David Caruso.
Thank you.
Right. But
David Caruso.
I went to his wiki page to try and see what movies you're talking about, and I saw some pictures pop up of him, and I went, "Oh boy!"
I guess he doesn't want to act anymore.
Well, he always had that red hair, so he had that going on. Had the Bill Burr.
Was he up against Brendan Fraser for that movie that Brendan Fraser was nominated for?
The Whale.
Yeah. Does that mean?
John, you get into trouble these days for fat shaming people and making cracks about people that are a little bit overweight. So,
Well, that's me.
What? Yeah, including you. Okay, so let's go back to your series that you did. You were on it for how long?
The Castle?
Yeah.
That was 8 seasons we did.
8 seasons.
Yeah, 8 seasons of that.
Okay. Where'd you shoot it? I know in LA, but where?
Raleigh Studios and Paramount.
Oh, sweet. Down there by Paramount. Yeah.
Raleigh and Paramount. We did both because the backlot was like a lot of times New York.
Okay, so during that
and downtown.
7-year period of time, did you renegotiate your contract?
Yeah, we negotiated.
Yeah, so you renegotiated. So I thought, like, if you're the star of one of those shows, I thought that kind of sets you. If you're 7 years and you do 7 years, I thought that was like 10 million, 20 million, like Caruso, all those guys. I thought when you do 7 years on a show like that, you're set up for a while. So I know you weren't the star of it, but I figured you were getting paid pretty well.
I think I got paid pretty well, but it's also the game changed. I think after what is that show? Oh God, it came on a Monday night. It was about the
Jim?
really smart people.
Jim?
Jim
Give him a little more.
Parsons. Jim Parsons was on it. Jim.
Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang
There
Theory.
you
Big Bang
go.
Theory.
Yeah, so I think after Big Bang Theory, after their big negotiation, things kind of changed. And that happened before ours, I believe, but they weren't coming with the same amount of money
Yes.
that they used to.
Okay.
Because
But this is before Castle, right?
No, this is during Castle.
During Castle, okay.
But because viewing habits were changing already before Castle ended, people were starting to already get into streaming,
Yes.
all this stuff, and so everything was changing. The model as far as advertisers are already starting to not pay as much money as they used to for that 30-second spot, and so it was harder to negotiate, up like people did back in the day. Like the NYPD Blues or the whatever. So,
all of them.
Yeah. So I think in today's world, and it started back when I was still on Castle, like actors aren't set for life anymore. We're back to definitely being like labor,
right.
And you have to know, people out there, that aren't in our business don't understand that I've been in the business for 30 years, but if I were to say this is how many years I've worked like straight, is 15 of those 30, right? So 15 years I worked straight.
That's pretty fucking good, man.
It's really good, but that's 50-50. So 50% of the time I was working, 50% I wasn't. So the money,
the other 50% you're just fucking spending all the money you made.
Exactly.
Right?
So now you got to figure out how to get some back.
You're right.
Because now you got to go into old age, like
Yes.
with starting to get health problems and starting to get and things are getting way more expensive, inflation, all that stuff. So like people think that a lot of actors are set for life. I mean, I remember I thought that for sure, and couldn't wait to get my first like big job where I got like a big a decent paycheck. And I remember doing some headshots up in the Hollywood Hills with a guy that was in my acting class. His side hustle was headshots.
Yeah.
And so we walked down this kind of road and then down this little pathway, and behind this house were these people that had this house used to let him shoot. And they had this little arched kind of stone looking thing that made it look like castle like or whatever. And there was a trailer with like busted out windows down there on this little plateau behind the house.
Right.
And a guy comes out and I see him, and like I said, I'm a big fan of TV and film, and I'm like, oh my God, that's Skippy. His name was Mark. I can't remember Mark's last name.
Skippy from what?
From Michael J. Fox's show. What was that show that he was? Family Ties?
Family Ties.
Skippy
Family
from,
Ties, yeah.
Skippy from Family Ties. And his name is Mark, and he's a great dude.
He was
Bryce.
a regular on that show?
I think he became a regular on that show, and everybody loved him. And he went off to do a bunch of movies.
Probably got married a bunch of times, drank too much.
He doesn't seem like the type. He definitely wasn't married when he was in that trailer, though. But he came out, and he was like that was his existence, and he hadn't been working. And I remember meeting him, and he was super nice and really cool, and I was starstruck. But he was living for free in a trailer on someone else's property, and the trailer was not in good shape. And at the end of my photo shoot, you know, he had like a suitcase, and he came out, and he's like, "Hey, could you give me a ride?" I'm like, "To where?" He goes, "LAX. I'm heading to LAX." And I'm like, "I'm going down to Sunset. I'm making a left, bro. Like, I'm not going to." He goes, "That'll work." So I gave him a ride down to the corner of Sunset and like Laurel Canyon, and then he was gonna make his way from there to LAX. And at that moment, I was like, you know, he's a super talented, super funny. Like, you know, I think he could probably do anything, and you just never know what's gonna happen in your career.
Yeah.
And so you gotta like be wise with your money, make it stretch, and I don't spend it on, like, I try not to spend all my money on booze and other things. I try to invest it, you know.
Hookers. Let's, come on.
No, OnlyFans, not hookers. But yeah,
Go ahead.
It's like, you know, I think, like, you know, you have to be smart about it, right? Be smart about your money. And so, because like, you know, what people don't get is that actors are, you know, sometimes working, sometimes not. And those first several years, like, you're stringing things together, like, you know, you're taking every little job maybe,
Yes.
or you're you know, so I think, and then, you know, we all want the same things that everybody else wants: a family, a home, a life, you know, and so those things can be expensive, as you know. So,
especially when you have one in Santa Monica.
Right. I'm in Venice.
Venice, okay. Especially when you have a mansion in Venice. They can be expensive, John.
But yeah, so I'm selling that thing, by the way, if anybody's interested.
How's the farm, by the way? You fucking up there like milking cows and shit? Is it
no cows? It's like horses and stuff, and chickens.
You're gonna get so fucking tired of that so quick. You're gonna
fuck no. I love it. I'm tired of this shit here.
Are you?
Oh my God.
Directing?
No, L.A. Just L.A. in general, like urban life. I want.
Where you have horses?
Nevada City, California, in Gold Country. So it's north.
Oh, really?
Yeah, northwest of Sacramento.
Sure.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's the most beautiful part of California, in my opinion.
Just you and your honey?
Up
there, you never see anybody else?
Yeah. I mean, I got neighbors that, you know, the neighbor next door has a farm as well. He's got like 10 acres, and then, like, you know, there's a couple other farms around that, and
so you haven't had it long. How long have you had it?
About a year and a half.
Okay, and
just
how
over
much? A year and a half. How much out of that year and a half? How many months have you spent there?
Probably 8. 8 of those months.
Oh, you have. Oh.
You know, and you know, put everything together. 8 of those months.
Okay.
Yeah, because
and what's she do?
My wife?
Yeah.
Nicole? She's got a company called Wanderlust Content Studio. She's a publisher. She publishes destination guides and visitor magazines for the tourism bureaus of, like,
so all of
Napa
her
Valley's
work she can do up from there?
Yeah. Because she travels for a lot of her work. Today she went to, I think, Ventura. She does Venturas. She does, you know, like Napa Valley. She does San Francisco Peninsula.
Cool.
Yeah, she does all of them. So in California, she's got
she
Texas.
would know California like the back of her hand.
She does, yeah. And she's also got something in Florida. She's got something in Illinois, Texas. So she's
sure they're not men.
Wow.
Could be, but that's cool. Whatever. She comes home. That's all that cares.
I hear you, bro. I hear you. Okay.
As long as I can get some too.
Hey, you work with Brian Cox? Did you work with Brian Cox?
A couple times.
How is he?
He's great.
Is he?
Yeah, he's. I mean, he's got an edge.
Yes.
As long as you don't challenge him in any way, he won't show you that edge. But I've seen people do it, and I've seen the edge. But I think he's great. He's talented, and he just says it like it is. That's what I like about him. He says it like it is.
Yeah.
In fact, like everything he's been saying about like working on his show, Succession, like the way he puts it out there. I don't know if I would do that, but it's like he says it like it is.
Yes.
It's how he feels. And he's I like that about him. There's not enough honesty in the world. So, and I think the most, like for me, I think, what I love about, say, people on the spectrum is that they can't lie. It's like they're super honest. I wish more people were like that. I don't think Brian's on the spectrum, but he definitely, like, he's not going to sugarcoat and blow smoke. He's going to say...
He's not going to shoot a goat? Is that what you said?
I thought you had a stroke, not a hearing loss.
Oh, that too. I'm getting old.
No, I said he's not going to blow smoke.
Oh, blow smoke.
Sugarcoat.
Okay.
Or
He said
sugarcoat. Yeah, he's not going to sugarcoat or blow
I understand
smoke.
that one. I still get that. The stroke did fuck me up so badly I don't get sugarcoat anymore. All right.
It erased those two words together from your brain.
Well, I tell you, memory is
Sort of
very
those stroke words for you, isn't it, Michael?
Yeah, and I've talked to Jim about this. Memory is like a bizarre. Your brain and memory is you can remember some things very well, and for a long time I realized that there were just certain words. Like when I was trying to learn dialogue and realized I couldn't fucking do it, throw it down, fucking walk away from it. And I realized after a period of time that there are like 2 or 3 words out of the paragraph, and those 2 or 3 words I can go over all fucking day long and forget them the next morning. Those 3 fucking words, and then I have to really bear down on those 3 words and learn 1 word like per day. And so it's a bizarre, like memory is not just like, oh, I forgot, it's very hard and very bizarre, I kind of had what do you call it when you dementia? Like the opposite of dementia. I started with dementia, and I just became.
It was like vascular dementia, probably, because vascular dementia comes from stroke, like from a stroke or some sort of event, and that's what causes some people who to have. My mom, I had vascular dementia, and now we think it was a stroke that made it, progress the way it did. So maybe that's kind of what your stroke was doing, but your brain was able to, reconnect the synapses and make it so that you are recovered, very well. Let me ask you this: for like the stroke, do we know what caused it? Was it a blood clot that through?
Everybody was, and I've got a great doctor, Rico Simonini.
He was on last week.
His podcast just dropped. He's an amazing guy. And nobody could figure it out. Nobody quite knew why. But I went in because I had a regurgitating valve my entire life. I had this regurgitating valve. When I got to be about 50, my doctor said to me, go see a cardiologist. I went to see Rico, and Rico was like, we'll see if we can kick this can down the road a little. Anyway, I ended up having open heart surgery. So I had.
I do remember that.
10 years ago, yeah. So it was 10 years ago? I gave you the date.
2014.
2014. Yeah, 10 years ago. No.
11 now.
11 now, right? Fuck. As they
Kalen, the human Wikipedia.
Oh, I just texted him that because I just put Rico's episode together, so it's fresh in my mind.
So when they did the heart surgery, John, they found a little tiny hole in my heart. Okay, and they believe now, I think my doctor believes now that I don't have heart disease. I don't have heart disease. I just had a regurgitating valve. I don't have any heart disease, but maybe a little piece of flak was bouncing around in there, and popped out of that little hole and went straight up to my brain. That's the theory, but nobody fucking knows. And nobody knows for sure, but that's sort of the theory.
Right on.
Okay. So this is us. Let's talk about that a little bit, because how long did you do that show?
That was 6 seasons.
6 seasons. And you came in on the 2nd season, is that correct?
Second episode.
Second episode.
Yeah, they shot the pilot while we were still doing the last season.
Oh, you weren't in the pilot. Okay.
No, because we were doing Castle. So they shot the pilot while I was doing Castle, and then I started.
Did they know they wanted you when you were doing Castle? At the end of Castle, were you going like, "Oh, I got this other show I'm going to"?
No, I didn't know. I didn't know. I thought. I think they wanted to add the character at some point, for sure. But they didn't have the bandwidth for the pilot, obviously, and it wasn't part of the. I think Dan's design was to drop a bombshell at the end of episode 2 to make you fall in love with Jack and Rebecca and the idea of them, and then drop this bombshell at the end of episode 2. But no, Castle. We had renegotiated for a season 9 for Castle. I think I was in Puerto Rico at the time, and on Wednesday, finally did my deal, completed my deal
for Castle.
Because I wanted a bunch of stuff like directing and all this stuff. Then Thursday, I get a call from the showrunner. We're done, and I was like, "Fuck, well, I need a job. That would have been good money. Fuck." So come back to LA, and got a call for a couple of like recurring. There was a show on Netflix that was going that they wanted me to come on as the husband for one day at a time, and this is it's an interesting story, I guess, but I went in to do what's called a chemistry read with Justina Machado. I'm sorry.
What's a chemistry read? I've never even heard of it.
You've never done a chemistry read before?
Well, maybe I have, but I didn't know it was called a chemistry read.
So to see if you have chemistry with who's going to be the lead. The lead person.
That's basically her just going, I don't like him. Let's see another one. I don't like him.
Pretty much is. Now, I had known her for a while.
I
had known her for, year. I think I met her like my first year in LA through friends.
Okay.
I met her at,
go on, chemistry read, go on.
So chemistry read. So, I know her. We give each other a hug. Hey, what's going on? And I read, and I looked around the room, and there was quite a few people in this room at Sony. And there was one guy who was an old guy, and he had a hat on.
I know. Listen, I just watched this story. So.
Oh, you did? My story? The one I'm telling you?
Yeah. And the reason I'm stopping you is because what they'll do on the internet, John. I don't know.
Oh, the podcast.
Yeah, the podcast. So what they'll do, John, is they'll take your story. All right, because I've seen other actors who have told stories, and they've told it on 3 or 4 different shows.
Oh, yeah.
And so they'll take a piece of each different podcast that you do, and you can see the guys, Matt Damon, when he does the thing about working with Jack Nicholson. Yeah,
right.
You can see he's told that story 3 or 4 times because they cut to different.
Did somebody do that to me?
Wardrobe on what?
Did somebody do that to me?
No, but they will do that to you if you tell that story again.
Let me not tell it anymore.
I was going to do a picture of like Norman Lear. By the way, with I wanted to say with This Is Us that I've got to do my fucking research like everybody else. I know you. We've been friends for a long time, but that doesn't mean I know everything about you. And I've learned a lot doing this. But so I Google John like this, and this picture comes up. Very first thing on Google, this picture comes up. I'm like, oh shit, man, he looks like. Well, I guess we're all getting older, but oh fuck, I didn't shit. Okay, yeah, I guess.
Oh, was it me as Miguel?
That's the first picture
you had me nervous
that comes up on Google.
And now it's Miguel. Oh, great.
Yeah,
I just texted you. I just texted you the picture, and I Googled you yesterday too, and I went, "Oh, geez, what happened to Joe? What happened to Joe?"
You were talking to Michael. Are we gonna need a makeup artist? Oh, that's
That's what pops up when they Google you.
That's me at 83. So I'm supposed to be 83 years old. Fuck.
Yeah.
So This Is Us. Yeah, I mean they didn't.
Wait. You were talking about what kind of a reading was it? Like
chemistry.
Friendship, chemistry. Yeah. Did you have chemistry with her? That was a different show.
I did have chemistry with her, but I wouldn't do the thing that Norman.
Oh, this is the Norman Lear thing.
Yeah. So the casting people were like,
they wanted you to be an angry Hispanic guy, and
I said I already did that on Generation Kill. They wanted me. Well, they wanted me to be a like a abusive ex-husband, and that's not what I wanted to do at the time.
Okay,
I didn't want to.
Does it have to do with your race? That you did, is that part of the story, or you just didn't want?
I mean, kinda.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't want to. Yeah, I didn't want to
portray. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I thought Jim was saying something.
No.
Okay. I did.
Pregnant pause.
I didn't want to represent my ethnicity or who I am and my people's as I don't want. I don't audition for gangbangers. Or gangsters, and if it is a bad guy, it's gotta be complex. It's gotta be interesting. Why is he a bad guy? What does he want to do? Like that, it's gotta have some substance to it. And then the same, for a guy who's on the paper that I had, it it didn't tell me why he was abusive. Like, where does it come from him or whatever? So I was like, I'm just not interested in being, playing a wife beater. And also, it wasn't on the page. Like, just kind of what I was being asked to do. It wasn't on the page. Like, it was like double spaced sitcom dialogue. And so I was like, it's not my thing, and that's fine.
Okay,
it's cool.
yeah.
Not
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
is going to be my thing. And you guys will find somebody great.
Right.
And so, but then
What's the name of the podcast where you do tell the story? Because it's a great story.
that was us.
That was
I watched it just this morning.
okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that
So
was us.
anyway, it's a great story about him and Norman Lear.
Waiting for Grandpa in the hat.
By the way,
yeah.
Who
Don't
was
give it
that
away,
about?
Jim.
Huge
Don't
fan,
give it away.
Huge
What?
fan of his too, by the way.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
Not that huge.
not at the time. Obviously, I didn't know what he looked like at 90 something.
100. He lived to be 101 or something, didn't he? Jim?
101, yeah.
Yeah.
But when that was happening, he was 94. So,
yeah.
but then I drove up to Paramount and got the gig because I went in and I was the right guy, I guess. And then
All
I
right.
started.
So for This Is Us, did you audition for that?
Kinda, yeah. I mean, there was a bunch of other guys. I walked in, but I didn't get the material because it was the same day, so I didn't really get the material. When I got there, I didn't know it. Like, I like to know my stuff.
Yeah, of course.
So
Yeah.
and I basically told them that, and they were like, "Well, let's just talk and talk about it." And so that's what ended up happening. And
Who did you meet with? Like, was it the
Dan Fogelman, Ken Nolan?
Those are the people who created the show.
John and Glenn, who directed the pilot, and executive producers, and big feature directors, and
Yes.
that was who it was.
And for anybody that doesn't know the show very well, it's kind of like my worst nightmare. I like the show. Believe me, I like the show.
As an
but
actor or as a
no,
or as like
no.
a-
As me watching, I get confused very easily, John. I'm sure you know that about me. I get confused very easily. So
Guys,
anything that's a flashback or anything.
and that was before the stroke, by the way.
Yeah,
Since I've known him.
That's always been the case. But anything that's a flashback or anything that like doesn't
Right.
go like beginning, middle, end.
So nothing. If it's not linear,
Not
you're
linear.
like,
I
oh,
have
the
a little trouble with. But I got very quickly what they were doing on that show,
Oh,
and
good.
I there's something about the way that they did it that I realized. What's it like having another actor play you? I mean, are you like looking over the shoulder, going like, "Hey, kid," like?
Oh, you mean I had a little kid playing me?
Yeah. Were you even there? Were you even?
I met him. I mean, I wasn't there when he was actually filming. I get to meet him.
Yeah.
But it's like
He looked like you, man.
kind of.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when I first saw him, I was like, does he really look like me? And then
Yeah.
he ended up being a
Yeah.
great kid, and
Yeah.
he was athletic, and that made me happy.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Be athletic.
This is a lefty, right? Baseball. Because he was
I don't think so. I think he was.
the right-handed. Okay.
Right. I'm not sure.
All right.
I know that because we had to he had to step out and I had to step in
I see.
and swing, but I know I swing.
Right,
I was
you
swinging
swing
right.
right-handed. Okay.
He might have been ambidextrous. I don't know.
Right.
Yes,
How
I
do you
know
say
big
that
words.
word again?
I know big words sometimes.
Yeah. I know that word too. I just can't say it.
Ambidextrous. I
you.
think I'm saying it right.
Thank you.
Am I,
No,
Caleb?
you say it
you're
right.
good,
Everybody
you're
else says it right. I just can't say it. All right. So you go. So they've already shot the pilot, and then they bring in, meet you, talk to you a little
Yep.
bit, and they go, "Okay, you're hired." So was that a negotiation that was difficult at all? I mean, what they'd been picked up for how many after that, after the pilot, and had they been picked up when? Well, they
I
must
think they
have
had
been
been
when
picked
they saw
up
you.
for the first season. I think was it 10 or 6? No, it was it 18? I can't remember what the first season was. It might have been just 10, and then because they do that a lot. Where networks just
Yes,
do like
of
10
course.
episodes, but
Yeah.
I can't remember how long the first
Okay,
season was.
okay.
But the negotiation was my negotiation for that show wasn't
Yeah.
that too awful difficult. I think for me, every negotiation is difficult because for us, you've got lawyers and agents doing it, and all you want is a great job.
Yes.
And you're fucking driving yourself crazy, wondering what's happening.
Yes.
And then when you call your people, they tell you, "Oh yeah, we had a couple of conversations, and you didn't call me after each one of them." But yeah, we had a couple of conversations, and I told them
We're still working on it.
Depending on who your people are, like I got an
It's
attorney.
closing,
He's like,
yeah.
exactly, it's closing. My attorney likes to be, somewhat of a bulldog, and like just to flex.
It's the
And
perfect type of attorney to have. That's it.
I guess, but he's the one that kind of scares the shit out of you when he says, "Yeah, I told them." I said, John doesn't want that. He wants this, and he's getting this, and he's not going to take anything. I'm like, what? I don't want $1 million per episode. But I just told him we'll land at 25,000. But we got to start high. But it was it's like that. It's nerve wracking when you try to get any information from the people negotiating on your behalf.
Yes.
And when you just want to, you're not supposed to say that out loud, but this is something that technically I would probably do for free. As long as I had a roof over my head and food in my mouth, I would probably do this for free. It's it's the greatest job ever.
It is. Yes, it is.
So,
yes, it is.
that whole money thing is something that, just always bugs the shit out of me, like the negotiation, the money and all that stuff. But again, in this day and age, in this town,
yes,
it's expensive to live here, and it's,
I know it is.
That's why I'm living
California.
That's why I'm
Los
living
Angeles,
in a farm.
And somebody's going to make money off your work. You might as well.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right.
You damn well bet
right.
the producers are, and the network is, or the film studio is. Somebody's going to, so you might as well get some of it as well.
Absolutely, you're 100% right.
Well, you should get as much as I'm asking him for how much time we have. You're checking your fucking.
I heard you guys talking about time. I was like,
do you need to be anywhere? Because you're a busy guy. Because very busy. You're obviously in Los Angeles. You're not on the farm because of. But I want to go back to This Is Us, and we'll get into the fact that how long were you on This Is Us before you started directing, and how was that? Was that part of your contract or not part of your contract?
No, it wasn't part of my contract,
Right.
but I will say, I'd been trying to direct on Castle for a while, and I guess Ken Olin had heard. And I don't know.
Ken Olin was an actor.
He was a producing director on the show. He never acted on it, but he was in 30-something back in the day.
Okay, that's what.
But he's been a director for many, many years.
Yes, okay.
But he was a producing director.
He did the pilot?
He didn't do the pilot.
Okay.
John and Glenn did the pilot.
Okay.
But he called me into his office before we even started shooting the first season, and he said, I heard you wanted to direct, and I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, we're gonna get you in the chair.
Wow.
And I was like, that's amazing, thank you so much. And then it took everybody once we premiered, everybody wanted to direct that show. And, John and Glenn are executive producers and direct the pilot. They wanted to direct a lot of the episodes. Ken Olin wanted to direct a lot of the episodes.
Yes.
So there were only a limited number of slots, and then everybody and their mother wanted to direct the show. So they brought in the greatest of television directors and feature directors as well. And then finally, I think it was season 4 where they let me direct. And I mean, it was for your first episode of television to be able to direct that cast, and with the level of writing that we had on that show, and then also the long leash that the network and studio gave Dan Fogelman to so he can do what he wanted to and tell the types of stories he wanted
meaning to hire you as a director, for instance?
Well, it's I'm saying to have the gift of having all of that as a director for your first time was
right.
I couldn't have had a better first time directing.
So talk me through directing one of the things that, and we had this conversation, but I'd like to have it again with you, is that I've done probably 50 episodes of episodic television over the years, and shows that went 20 episodes and never made it, never made a 7-year deal. But I always thought it's like 60 minutes and there's a commercial up front and a commercial in the middle. It's probably, in my mind, I'm thinking it's 56 minutes, and we had this conversation, and how long, and here's another thing about your show is that I fucking have a hard time with fucking commercials. I
hate them too.
Fucking hate fucking commercials in a show.
Me too.
But how long is
an episode?
Yes.
42 minutes.
40 fucking
42 minutes,
Did you know
30
that,
seconds.
Jim?
Yep. Yes.
You knew that.
If you listen to podcasts of an hour-long show where the commercials have been cut out, like an hour-long, like an episode of Dateline, for example, and they cut the commercials out and just listen to the audio track of it, it's 42 minutes.
42 minutes.
Yeah, 42 minutes. Yeah, and it's tough because a lot of times the scripts are coming in at 60 pages, and you say an episode.
Minute a page.
Yeah, it's a minute a page, right? So as the director, you have to you're looking at pace. What are the actors taking their big, dramatic pauses?
Yeah, but can't you just do that?
But sometimes it messes with the rhythm of the scene. So you'd rather them take out the pause before you get into the editing portion of the show.
Okay, so take me back to so you're going to direct the show. So like a week ahead of time. How many days of prep when you're do you get to do and what is your prep? Kind of walk me through that experience of your first directing gig and
the first one or just
anyone really, John,
I mean, you get the script. It depends on the show. Sometimes they can get you the script a month, not a month, but 2 weeks ahead of time. Sometimes a week ahead of time.
Are you involved in locations?
Yeah.
You are. Okay.
So the way it is with television, because it is, it's moving fast.
Yes, of course.
So you've got location managers that have gathered intel, and usually it's in the form of photos and a whole file that they show. You have a locations meeting, and they send it to you ahead of time before you even started prep, because you get 7 days of prep and you get 8 days to shoot an episode of broadcast network television. It's usually the way it goes.
Yes.
So you look at locations based on what you've read the script.
You don't go to locations, you see them.
No, you will go eventually as well, but you can't see everything because you don't have enough time.
Yeah, of course.
So you pare everything down to I want to see out of the 7 houses that you showed me. I want to see these 2.
Yeah,
this one will work and this one will work.
Okay.
And then you do that with every location that you're going to have to do. And then your first day of prep normally is the first location scout.
Okay.
And you got a concept meeting, you got a location scout, and then you're going to go back. There's always going to be a tech scout, the second to last day before you shoot or the last day you shoot. And that's a big location scout where you've picked all the locations and you're showing them to every department head on the show.
Right.
They all come out.
This is during the first week of work? I mean,
first week of work. Yeah, the first 7 days.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then all the other, you've got all these meetings with every department head, from props to background
wardrobe,
to costume,
camera.
So now it's great, which is different. It's changed, I would say, in the last, this is more prevalent in the last, say, 5 years than it was before. But now there's 2 DPs per show usually.
What?
Yeah, you've got 2, so that you've got you got a DP for the odd numbered episode and you got a DP for the even numbered episodes. So that now you've got your DP with you the whole time.
Oh, okay.
So now when you're looking at locations, and I have this idea, man, I want to do this and do this and do that. Your DP is like, that'd be great. And you know what else you could do is you could shoot through this thing right here. Now you've got another idea. Oh, that's a great idea. Okay. And now we start building. I start building my shot list already and the shots, and we do them together so that we're super prepped when it comes time to the tech scout. So when I go to the tech scout and I tell every department head, this is how we're shooting this scene here.
But now,
so you can't park trucks there. You can't do that. And I'm telling them exactly how we're going to shoot it. So now the grips know almost exactly where they're going to be setting up, say a 12 by.
Yep.
Based on the time of day, you're kind of ahead of the curve when you have a DP prepping with you.
Yes.
The whole
time. Yes.
Yeah. It's more like a movie, because in a movie you're prepping with your DP usually. Whereas the way it used to be in television, the director would come in and prep, and then the DP is, you're meeting the DP for the first time when it's time to start shooting the show.
Yes.
And you might say, I picked this location, and the DP's like, great, the sun's going to be right there the whole time. You're like, yes. Now I can't backlight the actresses, and they're gonna, they're not gonna look as good or whatever it is. But now you've got the DP to kind of help you. We're talking about where the sun is traveling. Let's start shooting here and chase the sun so everyone's backlit. That's the kind of stuff that I think is very helpful to make the picture look amazing, scheduling be easier, and I think having a DP there for prep is amazing.
Yeah, I can understand that for sure. When your actors walk in, do you have these scenes already blocked and listen, guys, it's basically we got to block it this way because we've set up our shots around the blocking that is in my mind, and so the actors walk into a blocking situation that has already been predetermined?
Yeah, I've got an idea on how I want to block the scene, and then and I'll feel strongly about it, but I would never say this is law. But when if an actor, and most actors, and I mean when I'm a series regular, it's I've got so much to worry about.
Yes.
My character would not come from that door. Fuck, why would you care to come from the bathroom? Because I just took a shit. No, it's like, what makes it easier and what's going to make me look better? Because usually as a director, I'm also setting a scene up so that someone's not, stuck in the corner like Kalen over there. Because now if I shoot Kalen, I'm shooting into this
Void,
tan
black
wall.
void. Yeah.
But if I'd set him over here and I put the camera over there and he's got like 10 feet between him and this door and he's nice and backlit right here, he's going to look a lot better. And when you tell an actor, you're going to look better.
Yes.
Oh, am I? Yeah, I'll stand right there then. You know what I mean? So I think it's, I have counters to why they might want to change it up.
Right.
And I say that's interesting. Maybe that would work. But you know what? Why I picked this is because you look amazing standing right here, coming in, and you have
and taller,
and you have all the power in the room because you're taking up the center of the room. This is your room.
You tell that one to each actor. Each actor is the center, somehow the center of the room.
You're going to take the center of the room from that actor when you move from here to there. Take your power. That's all we want to hear is like, we have power in the scene. We look good.
So you're shooting how many pages a day? 8?
It depends. Yeah, sometimes if it's an action scene, it might only shooting maybe like.
Oh, and by the way, Inside Outside. So is almost every episode, every show that I've ever worked on, including not Magnificent Seven, but almost every show that I worked on, usually, especially the Law and Orders and stuff like that. Procedures, yeah, they've got like 2 days on locations and then or 3 days on locations and then
everything's on stage.
5 days on stage or whatever it is. Is that are you used to that? Is that usually what
I'm pretty used to that. Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
is that usually the situation on all shows that you do?
Kinda. I mean, I did an episode of the show called The Irrational on NBC that was
called what?
The Irrational.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That we shot actually 5 days.
What is The Irrational? Tell me what that is.
Jesse L. Martin. It's a show about it's based on a real guy who's a behavioralist, human behavioralist.
Okay.
Who helped consult on cases that are
police,
that the FBI is
okay.
doing, or it's because it's about like kind of profiling and human
yes.
behavior.
Okay.
So he consults with law enforcement
okay.
for some cases, and that show we did like 5 days out, 3 days on stage. Because it was just heavy, like it was on horse ranches. So we spent 5 days on 2 different horse ranches.
When you did that show, had you ever done it before?
The Irrational?
Yes.
No, that was my first time doing that.
When did you do it?
When?
Yeah.
I think we shot that last year in like maybe August, I think.
Okay. And do you watch? Well, I guess you're watching it when you're in post. So how long do you? Well, one of the things that I noticed about This Is Us is that they used and of course music is so important.
Music on that show was so good.
Yeah, and the music on that, I noticed that they weren't using the Beatles doing it or the Stones doing it or the original artist, but they seemed to have songs on that show that were popular with other people singing them. Is it easier to get music now
to license it?
To license it because it's everywhere and everybody, the artists aren't making the money that they used to make. Do you know if it's easier now, John, to get music? Because that show had on popular music that I was used to hearing when I was in the 80s, the 80s and 90s or whatever. It wasn't the artist doing it, but it was a cover, right?
Sometimes we had the actual
You did
artist.
have the artist.
Yeah, sometimes. I think I did the Miguel episode, the song they used at the end was a very popular song with the original artist, and it was not cheap. It's not easier necessarily to get the songs now because now artists and songwriters and publishers aren't making the kind of money they used to,
right?
From record sales and things like that. So it is shows like this where artists actually and songwriters and publishers make their money back. But Dan Fogelman had this list of songs that he'd compiled.
Okay,
and he's like, we're going to use this in the show somewhere.
Okay,
and then he would send that show up to NBC and send that music up to NBC and say, "This is what I want." And because the show was so popular, they paid for it. So it just depends. It depends on the
in the
show.
last season of the show, of This Is Us is how much money were they spending per episode about?
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know the exact number, but if I were to guess, I would say upwards of $7 million an episode.
$7 million an
at
episode.
Least, yeah, at least.
Right.
Yeah.
And
how we were doing that on Castle too, like about $7 million an episode.
Okay, and how many people in those crews? counting
between
Teamsters and like the
250
whole
and
thing.
300, I would say, on the full crew. But on
pre,
set, yeah, but
post,
maybe on
everything.
set you've got like 120 people, 150 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what are you doing in LA?
I'm doing a movie.
Are you acting or are you directing?
I'm acting in it.
Okay.
Yeah,
what movie
I'm out
is
of
it?
retirement, bro.
You are?
Yeah.
You got tired of that fucking farm, didn't you?
Nah, I can't wait to get back.
Only so much you can do with horses. Yeah.
Well, they don't say the lines right. But it's a drama. It's a really cool drama. It's kind of a I could probably never do it justice like the director and the writer would tell you.
Describe it.
But it's for me.
What's it called?
It's called California Scenario.
Okay.
And I had a Isamu Noguchi table.
A who? A what?
Isamu Noguchi. He's a designer.
Okay.
And he designed this pretty well-known table that has been knocked off by a million companies. But it's a really cool, it's a mid-century table.
Okay.
And he's got an installation in Costa
What kind of
Mesa.
table do you have, Jim?
Jim.
Jim?
What kind
A
of coffee
TV
table?
tray.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jim. Go ahead.
So he he's got this installation in Costa Mesa, California. But the director is James Takada, and he's of Japanese descent, and his family was sent to the internment camps during World War II. And the writer is a woman who's a prolific writer. She wrote and created the show Home Before Dark on an Apple. She's the Horror of Dolores Roach.
Is this for Apple?
No, this is just a movie, independent
it's a
film.
movie.
Yeah, and so she, her family was in concentration camps in Austria, and now the two of them have found themselves a couple together after working together. And so they, getting to know each other, they found out they have these kind of parallel stories, not only with their families being in these camps, but also in how their relationships, they were married, both married, how their relationships kind of broke down, and maybe how some of it had to do with generational trauma, picking the wrong people or whatever it is. And so the stories kind of are these parallel stories of these two people who are both creatives. One's a director, one's a writer, and they kind of have these two stories.
Are you
come
one
together.
of them?
I'm one of the exes. So I'm like the writers. I'm playing the writers, a version of the writer's ex-husband, a fictionalized version of him.
What an amazing perspective!
It's a cool perspective to have, from the
really
Japanese and the Jewish perspective. It's really cool, and it's I think my character brings a lot of levity to the movie. It can be heavy. There's they deal with mental illness within the movie. Some tough subject matter that the characters the inspiration behind the characters actually experience. Some of it. Some of the inspiration behind the characters in the movie. The inspirations. The real people. Experience this kind of trauma or something similar. A level of difficulty. So. It's kind of cool to be able to bring that to life, and you're speaking to someone's true kind of existence and who they are and who they were, who they've become, who they've healed, what they've healed from, what they're still healing from. So it's a really cool indie movie that you don't get an opportunity to do that often. Like for me as an actor, I think in the film world, a lot of the stuff that I've done is like the action stuff, it doesn't have this level of depth, and it's kind of cool to be able to do that.
Are you doing that in LA?
In LA, yeah. In LA and Costa Mesa. I'm leaving for Costa Mesa after this.
After this?
Yeah.
You're driving up there, right? Costa Mesa?
Yeah, I'm going to drive down. We're staying down there.
That's down?
It's down.
Okay. I told you my navigational skills are still.
I see.
That's stroke. That's one of those stroke locations.
Okay, let's wrap this up with you basically telling. You walked in here and you told me that you were trying to get something set up. Talk about that just a little bit, because I love the show because it's got my name on every page of it.
The movie, yeah. So me and my partner.
So we're gonna throw this out there to any directors or any studios or Netflix, anybody who's paying attention. 824, you might want to pay attention here.
Right.
This I think is right up your alley. Go ahead.
I mean, we work together. We're friends, but I've always been a fan of your work, and and you do conventions, and I've done a couple of conventions. I personally don't enjoy them.
I couldn't act for 10 years, but go ahead. Go ahead.
But it's a great place to meet fans, and for me, I remember growing up wishing that I could meet some of the people that I saw in movies and television. And so now I think the conventions are a huge gift to people who are fans of what we do.
They are.
And this show is about two fans who want. It's a movie called Catching Bean. And if you don't read the title, you're like, what are they talking about? Coffee beans or what? But it's about catching Michael Biehn. And these two guys who are super fans, stans, if you will, all they want to do is get a picture with Michael Biehn, because if they do and they post it, they win the message boards, they win TikTok, they win Instagram, they win the day out of all the other people who are big fans of Michael Biehn. And he's elusive. He's not showing up to things. He's not. What's going on with him? How's his health or whatever it is? And finally, we see that Michael Biehn has been kidnapped. And when Michael Biehn gets kidnapped, we find out that the Michael Biehn that's been kidnapped is not the one we know from movies. He's incontinent. He's fucking old and he's telling these guys, he's like, guys, what are you doing? And these guys are like, shut up, Michael Biehn. And they've chained him to a chair. They've wrapped duct tape and ropes around him. They think he's like dangerous. And he's like, guys, I'm pushing 70. I gotta pee. And these guys are like, shut up, Michael Biehn. We know you could kill us with your pinky fingernail. And finally, over time, and there's a bunch of other stuff going on with these two other characters. One guy's, his girlfriend's parents don't want him with the girl that he's with, and he's in his 40s, and he's like, what the I'm a grown-ass man. Like, why are your parents treating me like, treating us like teenagers? And then we find out that her parents are actually Ted Danson and Mary Steenburgen. Steve Burgess. And so, cut to these guys have kidnapped Michael Biehn, and he convinces them, really one before the other, to like let me go so I can at least relieve myself. And as soon as they untie him, like, it's on. Michael Biehn kicks the shit out of these guys, and these guys don't know whether to run or just enjoy getting their asses kicked by their fucking their hero. So, and the movie, I'm not going to give too much away, but it's like a action comedy, extreme comedy. There's someone right now, a producer that I know, who's very, very, very into the film, and he said when I read the script, and he's read it now like 3 times, but when he reads it, he can't help himself. He laughs out loud.
Yeah, it's funny
to where it's annoying the shit out of his wife. And she's like, "What are you laughing about?" Because he's just and that makes me feel good, because my partner and I wrote it, and as an ode to my friend Michael, and also I want to be in the movie and be one of the guys that kidnap you and get my ass kicked by you. So you better start stretching, because the first move is like a high roundhouse kick to my head.
Right.
So.
Okay.
I had a neighbor one time years ago when I lived in Laurel Canyon. He was a lawyer, and he said to me, "Hey, Jim, my partner and I paid $5,000 to this guy to write a script. Would you read it?" And I said, "Sure." It was Ruthless People.
Oh, wow.
And this has sort of a Ruthless People kind of feel about it, it seems to me.
I mean, kind of, yeah, I think so. It's because I think Ruthless People got pretty extreme with like the violence that these two people who loved each other had, exacted on each other.
That got developed in later as the movie got closer to production. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a fun script, fun project, and we might shoot a bunch of it in Vegas.
Yeah,
so we'll be able to see Donny Osmond again.
Yeah. We went to see. He took me and Jen to go see Donny Osmond the last time we were really hanging out for a while.
Because we
went in as kind of a
joke.
Donny Osmond. But when you think about it, I mean, Donny Osmond has got the fact that he's still standing and still like performing and still entertaining.
You mean dancing hip hop and rapping on stage?
Yeah.
That's what he did.
I know.
Remember you and I, like we went in kind of as a joke, because we grew up watching him and Donnie Marie, and I was doing a film there, and Michael was there at a convention, and we just happened to be there at the same time, and I said, "Hey, you want to hang out? I'm gonna get us some tickets to Donny Osmond," and with a big grin on my face and kind of giggling. Let's go. We're thinking we're gonna watch this old guy try to.
Yeah.
And at one point, me and Michael were standing up in our seats, going, "Yeah, Donny, go!" He was dancing with these girls and these guys, and he was singing. He rapped his whole life story, and it was like, this motherfucker is
entertainment.
Is entertainment
personified?
Don't hate on Donny Osmond, basically, is what we walked away going. If someone talks shit about Donny Osmond, I'll fuck you up. He's brilliant. He's fucking dope. Like him and Bruno Mars should go on tour together. You know, it's like that type of guy.
All right.
It was fun.
Thank you for coming on, John.
Thanks
I
for
know you
having
got to get in the car and go to, where are you going? Costa where?
Costa Mesa.
Costa Mesa. It's south, right?
Yeah, it's in Orange County. Yeah, Orange County.
Oh, it's in Orange County?
It's in Orange County.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. So you don't have far. When you start shooting? When you start shooting?
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning.
Yeah. So the weekend,
is that your look? Is that your look?
Kinda. I gotta shave a little bit, but
Yeah.
the the weekend is Wednesday and Thursday. So we shoot. Wednesday and Thursdays are the days off for this
gotcha,
movie. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So the last 2 days have been off. I've been shooting on it already, but
Oh, you have?
yeah. I've been shooting. I've been here for a while. Yeah.
You've been in town all that time, and just first time you
I'm
decided to
I'm on a movie shooting. You know, these things.
bite me down.
You know what I mean? Come to the set.
Show me.
Come to Costa Mesa. You don't even know where it is. I'd be waiting for Michael for hours. Like where the fuck?
Waiting for Michael Biehn. It's a different
He's
movie. You
texting me.
might
I'm
want
like, he's texting me from San Francisco. I don't know where this Costa Mesa is.
All right, John. Thank you for coming on for so
course.
much.
Thanks for having me.
You're like the reason you work all the time, John, is you're a fucking great actor. That's why you work all the time. No, I'm not fucking around. I have watched you enough, and this second go around, by me kind of prepping for this situation so I could talk to you about this stuff. I think you were the best thing on this. This is
thank you.
And I know they had a great cast, and it's maybe not politically right, but you're the reason you work so much is because you really, really are good. And I was going to ask you at the beginning, where did you fucking learn it? How did you become that? Such a good actor? And you kind of explained it, so I didn't go there. But I meant to say this earlier in the podcast: is you're just a fucking fine actor.
Oh, okay. I really appreciate that coming from you.
The more that I watch, the more I realize that this is why you work all the time. And so I know you're busy and you're working, and so. Thanks for coming on. And
one last thing before I go, because I don't know if you thought that when we did that movie in Africa, because we did one scene where it was you and Gina.
Did I tell you to?
No. Well, you didn't say anything, but I was like, I wonder if he thinks I'm a fucking hack, because my character had been killed, and there was a morgue scene. And I had gone out with Sean Patrick Flannery the night before, and we were probably up till 4:30, and my call time was 6. Mm-hmm. And I had this scene where I was laying in a morgue, and we used a real morgue in Africa, in South Africa. They had moved the bodies out the day before, so I literally was put into one of these stainless steel trays, and you and Gina had pulled me out to do your scene around
Gina
me.
Gershon,
Gina Gershon, and I was snoring. I passed out. When you action and you guys pull the drawer open, and I'm like. I probably looked dead, but I didn't sound dead. I figured you and Gina looked at it, and then you woke me up like, dude, you're supposed to be dead. You can't be snoring. We're rolling.
It was film back then too, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was.
You don't waste that,
Exactly. We were wasting film, and you were like, and I'm sure, like I was mortified. I was like, oh shit. I figured that when you guys closed me back in the drawer, I figured that you and Gina were like, this fucking the fuck? Where'd they get this fucking guy?
No. We bonded on that show. That's all I remember is South Africa, which is and Cape Town, which is one of the most wonderful cities in the world, and meeting you and our friendship kind of started there, and it's been solid ever since. So anyway, thanks again for coming, and safe travels on your way to. Where are you going?
San Francisco. If I tell him San Francisco, I might see him in Costa Mesa.
Right. Yeah, tell me San Francisco. All right.
Thanks for having me, man. It's always a pleasure to just hang out with you no matter what. I really appreciate our friendship, and, I've always been your biggest fan, so I'm going to keep stalking you.
All right, man. And we're all waiting for that movie. A24.
Let's go, A24.
Sounds good, doesn't it? Okay, bye.
All right, see you guys.